Have you ever wondered what it feels like to survive when the Allied forces are trapped on a French beach, surrounded by German troops? This film doesn't just show war. It tells a true story of courage and desperation. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? As always, I wish you good health and continued success. Today I will be reviewing a highly rated war history film. Not only is it based on true events, but it also vividly portrays the horrors of World War II. The story follows the Allied forces trapped by the German infantry on a northern beach in France, at a time when Germany had already occupied much of the country during the war. With their remaining strength and hope, for about a week, from May 26 to June 4, 1945, the Allied soldiers struggled to save their lives, aiming to be evacuated across the English Channel and reach the shores of England. So, how did their story unfold? Let's dive into the full plot of the film. Based on true events, this film is set in 1940, when Germany had taken control of Western Europe and successfully occupied France after Belgium surrendered. As a result, the remaining Allied forces were forced to retreat and became trapped on the northern beaches of France. There is no main character in the film. Instead, it presents three main perspectives of the Allied side: the Army, the Air Force, and the civilians. Through these viewpoints, the film vividly shows just how terrifying the siege and evacuation were. The story begins from the perspective of the Army, covering a week in early June 1943. It shows a soldier named Tommy, who is part of the British Expeditionary Force, BEF, trying to make his way to the beach. He narrowly survives an attack by German infantry that has surrounded them in the city. It can be seen that on almost every street corner, French soldiers carried out last-ditch defenses to slow down the advance of the German troops, prioritizing British forces so they could escape and join around 400,000 other soldiers on the beach. This was, in fact, historically accurate, as in that situation, the British forces had greater evacuation priority than other troops, becoming the main focus to board the British rescue ships sent to evacuate them. Reluctantly, the French troops were forced to hold back the advance of the German forces and defend their homeland to the very last drop of blood. Because of this situation, Tommy encounters a man named Gibson, who turns out to be a French soldier disguised as a British one by wearing the uniform taken from the body of a fallen British soldier on the beach. Without questioning the situation too much, Tommy and Gibson silently come to an understanding, choosing to face their fate together in an attempt to secure evacuation rights amid hundreds of thousands of other soldiers who are also desperately trying to escape death. They then notice several medical teams being given priority to board the evacuation ships. Because of this, Tommy and Gibson decide to disguise themselves as paramedics and attempt to catch up with a ship that is about to depart. Amid the chaos, the scene suddenly shifts to show the situation at a British pier on June 4, 1940, changing the perspective to that of civilians over the course of a single day. At that time, the British government issued a mandatory order requiring any civilian who owned a boat to take part in the evacuation mission. Around 700 small civilian vessels were ordered to help evacuate approximately 400,000 British soldiers who were still trapped on the beach. One of these civilian boats belonged to a man named Dawson, who willingly set out toward the battlefield, accompanied by his son, Peter, and his nephew, a young man named George.
Into war, George! What are you doing?
Along their journey, they pass by warships that are given priority to transport British troops from the beach. From time to time, they also see British fighter planes flying overhead, securing the Dover Strait. On the same day, far ahead of them, a fierce aerial battle is taking place in the skies over the Dover Strait. 3 British fighter planes are engaged in combat, attempting to drive away German Luftwaffe aircraft. This situation then shifts the perspective to that of the Royal Air Force, unfolding over the course of 1 hour.
I'm on him.
Among the Royal Air Force aircraft are 2 British pilots named Ferrier and Collins, who are assigned to fly toward the beach to conduct reconnaissance and secure the Dover Strait from possible German air attacks.
He's on me!
A highly intense aerial battle, or dogfight, then breaks out, with British aircraft relentlessly chasing and tailing German planes amid continuous gunfire. However, during this mission, they are actually required to use their fuel as efficiently as possible, so it would be enough for them to reach the beach and return safely.
I got one of them.
In the end, the British aircraft managed to shoot down 2 German fighter planes and 1 bomber, although earlier the Germans had succeeded in downing 1 British aircraft, causing it to crash into the waters of the Dover Strait.
There's Fortis leader, over. The more of the 109. Orbit for a look.
Back on the beach in France, Tommy and Gibson are still trying to board a small medical ship so they can be evacuated as quickly as possible. However, it turns out to be far more difficult than they expected. In the end, they are turned away and ordered to wait for the next ship, as the vessel is strictly reserved for transporting wounded soldiers and patients.
Well, you two, let's shift on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Both of you, off you go. Off you go.
From there, they try to find another way to get aboard the ship. Gibson suggests that they hide beneath the pier and plan to climb on as it prepares to depart. However, at the same time, everyone suddenly hears the terrifying roar of German aircraft. Moments later, dozens of bombs are dropped from 3 German planes, aiming to destroy the only remaining pier. The attack kills hundreds of Allied soldiers who were lined up on the pier, patiently waiting for their turn to be evacuated. What makes the situation even more devastating is the fact that the German forces succeed in sinking the transport ship and completely destroying the pier, which had been the only docking point for the vessels meant to carry the soldiers back to mainland Britain. Amid the chaos, Tommy manages to save a British soldier named Alex, who nearly gets crushed while jumping from a leaking evacuation ship that eventually sinks. Shortly after, a British pier commander named Commander Bolton quickly organizes their evacuation, using a troop-carrying boat to transport them toward a British cruiser waiting offshore.
Let's find you another ship.
Tommy, Gibson, and Alex also manage to board the ship. They are immediately directed below deck and given a small piece of bread and a cup of tea. However, unbeknownst to the others, Gibson secretly slips away and hides outside on the ship's deck. Realizing this, Tommy and Alex immediately begin to think that all the soldiers have been deliberately locked below deck as a precaution in case German fighter or bomber planes attack the ship, effectively leaving them to die inside.
He's looking for a quick way out. In case we go down.